All right, everyone. Hi, Jessica. Hello, participants. Welcome to the Your Path webinar, which is part of the Growing Your Workforce Live series at the Workforce Planning Development Board. Hello. Oh, sorry, I was just having some technical issues there. So as I said, it's part of the Growing Your Workforce Live series at the Workforce Planning Development Board of Elgin, Middlesex, and Oxford. I started Growing Your Workforce Live because as the Workforce Planning Board, we've seen a lot of work that needs to be done in the labor market as there's a lot of culture making work to be done, changing the tides of communication, attitudes between all stakeholders in the employment market. So that's a really tricky outcome to achieve with regular projects. So the idea behind this was to make a labor market information project that was available in engaging and interactive formats. And the hope was that by doing this, we could create a really rewarding opt-in for our larger community to this culture changing work. So as my time as host and editor of the former Growing Your Workforce e-magazine and of this series, I've had such a privilege to collaborate with so many amazing people and talk about so many incredible projects. So it's with a lot of sadness that I say that this is my last session as the host. But I think it makes perfect sense that here in my last session, I'm joined with Executive Director of the STEAM Center in St. Thomas, Jessica Gransall, to talk about a project that it's been another great privilege to be a part of because it goes beyond the labor market field to do that culture driving and culture changing work I talked about and to help fuel major changes. So today, Jessica and I are going to chat with you about the Your Path project, how it came about, and how you can get involved. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And to be your last guest, I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. So a few key facts that really brought this project to light was that, and Jessica, please correct me if I have any specific numbers wrong, but less than half of all graduates finish high school with a senior level STEM credit. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math. As well as COVID-19 has seen a historical low for levels of women's participation in the labor force. And third, this one I know is right, local employers are providing amazing pathways to prosperity through the use of skilled trades and through STEAM-related fields and employment, but there's a shortage of skilled trades workers especially. So this campaign is centered around a landing page with highlights from interviews and interviews with local women in the STEAM fields and information about their pathways, so young people know what they can do to harness STEAM for their career paths. We've got billboards, bus shelters, posters, all to raise awareness and raise visibility. In addition, we have radio and social campaigns that everyone can get involved with. So Jessica, I wanted you really came to us with this project, and I wanted to ask you about what was the inspiration behind it? What drove you to get this started?
Sure. So first of all, if you hear a little rumbling in the background, we are currently 3D printing in this same room. So that's what's happening. We're 3D printing some kid projects. But yeah, so the STEAM Education Center was established in 2016. And with that became a bunch of different programs and directions that we included in our mission. And so one of that was after school, hands-on coding, creating, makerspace, critical thought, design thinking workshops. And over the years, we started to look at the numbers. I'm very much a data person. So when we looked at trends year over year, we saw that girls in our after-school workshops from the age of 6 and up represented less than 5% of the kids who were being registered into our workshops. So, naturally I thought, well, these children aren't registering themselves. So what is the gap in information or the gap in thinking about the types of things that boys enjoy and the types of things that girls enjoy? And ultimately, what skills is that child going to get out of that type of engagement? why are boys being put into coding and not girls? Why are boys being put into robotics and laser cutting and 3D design and printing and all these, you know, emerging technologies at our fingertips? But why are we only seeing the boys? So that struck me about 2 or 3 years ago. And I spoke with the workforce planning, Deb in particular, about it at that time. And as a charity, you know, we sometimes have to be patient for when we can find the money or we can be granted the money to do these campaigns. So after, you know, 3 years of kind of sitting on this, we finally got the support. And, you know, COVID gave us more time to really focus on this representational campaign, because it's important to inform and educate parents and children about things early on in their years. So this campaign is really to present local women who stuck with science and math through school and what that meant to them. And then we feature their careers. But a lot of the narrative, as you know, Jack, and piecing this together with us, a lot of the narrative is the importance of the path to get from A to B, the mentality and the perseverance, the, you know, as we call them now, the soft skills, the grit, the courage, as I say, the perseverance, the persistence that you need when science might not be your thing or math might not be your thing. So this campaign brings all of that messaging together to say, here are local women, here's their guidance and advice, here's how you might be able to finish science better. So for instance, you know, and I might be jumping ahead, my apologies if I am, but you know, we have one lady in the campaign who said, she's a science teacher, and she said, you know, it's not about necessarily going the academic or the applied routes. Or rather, sorry, it is about making sure that you choose the path that suits your learning style. So it doesn't really matter if you go academic or applied, just as long as you choose the tool to help you complete that course in the way that you learn best. So all of these things came together, and really the spirit of this was around reaching more young kids, but particularly young girls and their parents or grandparents and guardians, to say it's so very important that kids graduate high school with a science or math credit.
That's so true. Thank you, Jessica. And I love how you mentioned that, how many times this campaign brings so many people together, whether it's families opening these conversations, and whether it's also starting to bring together the idea of those hard skills and those soft skills by seeing real people who, you know, utilize both to achieve great success or great satisfaction in their jobs and in their workplaces. So my next question is, I think this is a good segue. What is the significance of STEAM skills for our local workforce?
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit. The first iteration of this movement is the STEM movement, and that really started about 15 years ago. And RISD was the first school to really kind of place the emphasis on STEAM, to say, hey, you know, art and design thinking are intrinsic across STEM. And what if we folded in STEAM, folded in art and design, so that we could bring these interdisciplinary things together? So, you know, when we look around us, when we think about engineering, whatever is being engineered needs to be first designed. And often we place humans at the center of that design. So that's really the magic of STEAM, is bringing art and design into those STEM, the critical thought skill or subjects rather. And so the importance of STEAM in workforce planning, again, really starts with those soft skills. It's understanding the importance first of where you fit in this world around us with science and math, and understanding the practicalities. And that's really the magic of STEAM, is it bridges the gap between existing knowledge and future knowledge. So where are you at now, and what job do you want to have in the future? Or what skill do you want to have in the future? And how can we help bridge that knowledge so that you have the skills and you have the information to go from A to B?
Absolutely.
And STEAM, yeah, and we also use, so in our methodologies, we really lean heavily on the makerspace culture or community. And a lot of what we do is in the spirit of makerspace. So if you're familiar with that, it's really, makerspaces are for people that make things, that can turn an idea into an object. And so again, what our programs, or what STEAM allows youth to do is really understand how these things come together in your education and in your future employment. And that's really, so the message we have really focused on is for the kids, but this is also a campaign for our workforce and our employers and our companies to say, hey, innovation happens when you have a more dynamic team. Innovation happens when you're pressed to find new solutions to different things. So when we include more women, the design of X changes and things innovate. So yeah, STEAM is really important for not just kids, parents, and students. It's important for our workforce and our employers to understand what comes from someone who has really specialized in STEAM. We've had a lot of students who have spent times in our Leaders program, which is a placement program for high school, college, and university students, who have said, just having the access to your maker tools has given me an extra edge when I tried to get into engineering schools, because I understood the practicality, I understood the limitations, or I understood what was possible. And I didn't previously have that knowledge, and now I do. So it's, yeah, so this makerspace piece is also at the heart of what we do too.
Yeah, I loved hearing you say that STEAM is innovation, because it really is. And, perhaps the parts that I really enjoyed when talking to these women about their pathways was that how much their stories have potential to change how young people think about things like the skilled trades fields. That we talk often in our fields about needing to change that image to solve the shortage. And these are people who are actively involved either at one point in their career with skilled trades, or are currently in a skilled trade, and are talking about the people skills that they use and the innovation that they get to drive at their work. And it's really contrary, and I think more true to life than that image that we have of the skilled trades as being sort of like a dirty profession that's not very
or
not
a second tier.
Yeah. And
it's not true, because it's interesting. I think over time, society has placed importance on different commodities, right? So a college education versus a university education carry different values. Today, I think the number one value is the money in your pocket, and the versatility of the skills that you can apply. So that is also the beautiful part about a STEAM education, is it helps people become well-rounded, 360 degrees. A lot of what the women told us really touched on their ability to be better communicators, because they stuck with science and they stuck with math. So the benefits to this approach and this emphasis of being a dynamic person, being someone courageous enough to fail and not be deterred, really, I hope, resonates with people through this campaign, and a lot of what the women say echo that as well.
Absolutely. So my next question is about the people who we interviewed, and I think, Jessica, with your thumbs up, I'm going to give everyone a sneak preview of the images we've come up with, and maybe we can talk a little bit about each representative.
Yeah, great.
And what it was like interviewing them.
Yeah, so this is Laura. She's an acting science department head with Thames Valley, and she is a superlative science teacher. And so Laura really shared with us the inside information that she sees in her school every day, and her daughters at home. She gave us those inside insights into the difficulties students have finishing science and math, and some tips and tricks. So we've shared a little bit of that here in her testimonial.
Yeah, I think featuring her was a little bit atypical, but so key, again, for getting that inside look of what is it like taking these courses and going through the career path, because she sees kids go through that every day.
Yeah, and really the point is, if you don't have a ticket, you can't participate. So you need to make sure that you at least get an opportunity to pursue something down the road. You know, as you said earlier, women are seeing a decline in the workforce. So if ex-woman had done, you know, science and math in high school, she'd already be set up for reskilling in a certain direction. If she didn't complete that in high school, then immediately the opportunities there for reskilling, finding a new career in this difficult climate are limited. So that's really what we're saying here with Laura is make sure you get yourself an option for your future.
Yes, get a ticket to ride for sure. We have Lynn Payne here, who's an assembler for Gorman Rupp Pumps.
Yeah, Lynn's an interesting lady. She joined Gorman Rupp later in her her career, but she really speaks to the importance of learning with your hands, jumping in, problem solving, teamwork, communication, all of these things that come from the trades. They come from having to work both individually and with a team, solving problems as a team, and the critical thought pieces that you get when you're in those trade scenarios.
Yeah. What I also loved about her story was she said when she started at Gorman Rupp Pumps, she thought she would be there a week or two, and now she's been there for years on years on years.
Yeah, and she loves it.
Yeah.
She loves it.
We have, oh, do you want to speak to Chilla?
Yeah, so we have Chilla here. Chilla, again, a really, really lovely woman. She told us the story how she came from Romania as an engineer, came here and joined Steelway Building Systems and became a senior systems designer. So she's working with architects and engineers, and they're creating all of these huge scale steel buildings all throughout Canada, really, and North America, I'd say.
Yeah, I loved hearing her story about, she said that as a kid, she loved playing with blocks. And now she gets to drive around our cities and see buildings that she helped design or contribute to. And what an amazing journey that is.
Yeah, and you know what, that's so interesting is one of the philosophies we really stick close to at STEAM is the importance of play and what you can understand when you play. So when you play, you're doing something that you love, something that feels interesting already, but you're learning as you're doing it. And so it's really interesting that Chilla, you know, pointed out that when she was a kid, she loved problem solving. She loved building things. She loved assembling things. She told us the story how she wanted to make sure she got to school first one day when she knew there was an opportunity to build something with blocks in class. And, you know, play is still at the heart of what Chilla's doing today in creating these huge scale buildings.
Yeah. And you can bring play to any position, right? If that's something that you love. We have Dr. Erica Van Dalen, Chief and Medical Director of the Emergency Room at the St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital.
Yeah, Erica. So she gave us a very big background about how she went from student to being the chief ER doctor, or chief medical doctor. And so basically she, much like Chilla, went back to her childhood and looked at what did she love to do then? Where were her inspirations then? And for her, it was about tinkering. It was about getting there, getting in there with your hands, doing hands-on activities with her mom and her dad. And interestingly, you know, when we put the question to Erica, if you weren't in medicine, if you didn't go that long academic path, what would you be doing? And she said, well, I love working with my hands. I would absolutely be in a trade. So it's interesting that from her perspective, those are the two career paths that she would have chosen based on what she intrinsically loves to do. Problem solve and build things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this really speaks to the starting family conversations point as well, because she mentions my dad taught me how to fix my car, and my mom was also hands-on, and they were sharing those skills early on. And now I'm the chief medical director of the emergency room.
Yeah.
So seeing that, being able to see that link, I think can really inspire some families to think differently about these skills.
Absolutely.
We have Stacey Richardson, who's an application development specialist at 3M.
Yeah, it was really lovely to get two ladies from 3M to participate, because they really, 3M as a company, we all know right now, is at the crux of innovation and also problem solving. You know, they're kind of leading the charge with mask development and deployment across Canada on behalf of the government. And so to get these two ladies who work there and do really interesting things was quite interesting. So yeah, the first one we have here is Stacey. And she really just, her messaging and her interview time with us was really focused on making sure that you get your foundation, much like what I said earlier. Make sure you have your foundation of science and math. You understand the principles, because when you understand science and math at its most fundamental level, then you have more opportunities in life. And so she actually took a career that she didn't actually know existed, which seemed really interesting,
Yeah.
right? And that's really the world that our youth has to consider, is you're going to take a career that might not even exist yet.
Yeah, that's something that we hear a lot. A lot of careers that we're doing today didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, and how do you
So,
prepare for something you don't know? You get your basics, you get your foundation, so you can pivot.
yeah, those transferable skills that go everywhere too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We have So Young Lee, who's the chief scientist and founder of Mira Cannabis. Speaking of people who have a job that didn't exist several years ago.
Yeah, yeah, so young. She is a fantastic lady. And yeah, when you think of innovation, medical science, so the cannabis industry is something that we all know to be really changing life for pretty much everyone around us, from children who rely on treatment for epilepsy. You know, I used to work at Sick Kids Foundation, and I fundraised specifically for that. So it was really interesting. And now we see, you know, it's recreationally legal. It's all of these things that we couldn't possibly have forecasted 10 years ago. So how did So Young prepare herself to jump into this innovation world? She had the right foundation. She had the tools, and luckily she also had great opportunities presented to her. But you know, we can only catch on, we can only grab onto these things if we're positioned properly.
And then we have Erica Conlon, who's an intermediate draftsperson at Steelway Building Systems. I loved that she mentioned it was a co-op in high school that got her really into that. It's that work integrated learning that can set you up for a long and very enjoyable career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Erica, I really, really appreciated her perspective, because she's a young lady who, through high school, took the unpopular route. None of her friends were interested in drafting. And Erica went to a technical high school too. So, you know, she really was quite brave as a young woman in high school. And she said year after year, when she kept coming back, the professors and the teachers at her school were always surprised to see her. But I love her advice to other girls. You know, don't worry if it's not popular. If you love it, drive for that. Figure out what you need to be that, to do that, and you can do it. Because the only thing standing in your way is you, when you accept that you don't want to do the unpopular thing. So be brave, be courageous, and keep going.
Yes, that courage part, that's, I think, one of the things that I love this project so much for. And lastly, I don't have her up here, but we also have Helen Caraholios, who is from 3M as well.
Yeah. So Helen, I mean, she gave a really dynamic interview as well. And she very much echoed, you need a ticket to play. So just make sure that you're prepared, because right now, you know, we don't even know what the next 6 months look for us in any respect. So again, how do young girls prepare for an unknown future? Make sure you have your foundation of transferable skills.
That's so true. So you know, we've seen the ladies. We've talked about the significance and where this campaign come from. But I really wanted to talk impact. What do people who see this campaign stand to gain?
Well, you know, first, the immediate audience is students and parents. We want them to recognize their neighbor. We want them to see this bold, strong woman with really important information for their child, girl or boy. You know, naturally, we've selected women because we need to see more women. We need to see more girls on these paths. This message is meant for every young person, every person reskilling, everyone trying to consider what their future looks like. So we want them to be empowered, We want them to know that you're not alone. We understand. And there's people out there that are ready to support you. And so make sure you ask for the help. We want them to feel inspired to ask, how do I get from A to B? You know, find those tools online. We learned about a really powerful tool called the Blueprint.
Right.
And I learned through this campaign that there's this government tool called the Blueprint where students can essentially fill in their high school courses, and it will ultimately summarize the careers you will then qualify to fill. And when you remove science and math from that equation, from that course list, your opportunities are truncated by about 1/10. So, I mean, that sounds terrible to me personally, right? So I'm thinking, in doing this campaign, we really need people, our community, to see these women, see this representational campaign, and we need our workforce to respond as well. We need them to invest in programs that support training, support education, support advertising opportunities, and support your local community of young people, because these people are going to be the next innovators, inventors, entrepreneurs, business owners. So that message, the whole campaign message is really meant to say, take note, everybody, look at this. Students, have another look, take another look. It's not too late. You know, you can take that course now.
Yeah, and I think it's especially special that these are women local to St. Thomas and employers that have footprints, you know, that extend to our whole catchment area. That's Elgin, Middlesex, and Oxford and beyond.
Yeah.
Because we have employers who are looking to do this innovation, who are looking for people who just like the women in our campaign. And I think being able to see the opportunities that we have here can help also expand on that conversation about pathways. All right. And, you know, so we've talked about how critical this messaging is, and it does start with, I think its strength lies in how wide it is spread. So we are inviting, if you want to get involved, we're inviting you to share on social media as it launches over the next week or so. And then also, so you can find that on the Workforce Planning Development Board social media, or also on the STEAM Center social media, I assume. And we've, if you're part of an organization that is looking to opt into this messaging, I'm going to drop a Google Docs link just into the chat. So feel free to enter the email of yourself or your communications person so they can receive the partner promotion package when it gets out. Lastly, I wanted to open up to questions. If you click that Q&A button, you should be able to send any questions that you might have. While we give everyone a second to think of questions and to let those roll in, Jessica, do you have any final remarks that you wanted to make?
No, you know, honestly, I appreciate the opportunity to partner with Workforce Planning. I mean, you guys are just a dream to work with, honestly.
Thank you.
And this is such an important message. You know, we are seeing record lows of women's participation in the workforce generally. Beyond that, we're seeing fewer women in specific fields. So for instance, I just read on a government website that women's participation, even in IT, is decreasing. So now is the time. There is no better time. And we need partners to help us get this message out. And again, to the people on the webinar that would like to join us, you're invited to connect with me directly, and we can even brand these materials that are specific to your audience too. So again, we're looking for partners that will help us just get this message out and just help prepare our youth better than they are now.
Yeah, so true. Now is the time. So I'm not seeing any questions come in yet. So I think that will mark the end of our session here. Thank you so much, Jessica, for talking to us today, and thank you to everyone who attended. You'll be able to find and share a little bit about this this webinar if you wish, either on YouTube, or you can keep looking at our blog. It'll be posted there for people to watch in several minutes. Well, that's it for this session. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, everyone.